Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where we're going to help you guys crack that crazy girl code. I'm your host, Keisha Blair, and I have my co-host with me, Mind Wellness Coach, Essence Charborough. And you guys, you need to get ready because we got some topics for you today. And we're going to go ahead and get right in it with our first topic. And we're talking about, does size really matter?
Does it matter?
Get your mind out the gutter. I already see where you're trying to go with it. Get your mind out the gutter. We ain't talking about that kind of size. That ain't what we're talking about. The kind of size we're talking about is, does a man's size of his bank account really matter?
So I believe, getting just right into it, Keisha, I do believe that matters because to me, it's not, and I don't mean like the size as in like it has to be a large amount. You hear a lot of women talking about, oh, he's got to make six figures. He's got to be making this. He's got to be making that. I think it's important that it's what he does with the size of what he has, right? It's how he manages it. And if he don't have nothing to manage, I hope he's, much younger. That's expected for younger guys. Older guys, it does matter. If you have a family, if you're, you know what I mean? There are certain goals you have once you get older, and you don't want your finances to be such an issue at that point.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I think it matters depending on the age. When I was younger, I was willing to accept a little bit more, and I didn't really focus more on that. But in return, I didn't really have a lot either. Right. So as my bank account grew, I think that my need to have my partner in a somewhat similar bracket, so to speak. So yeah, I think it does matter, but I think it also matters with how old they are, because then you have some women who date younger men, right? So if I'm going to date a younger man, of course I can't. I mean, you got some guys out here who are doing it, but you can't really expect somebody to be as established as you are, and they're much younger than you, right? And then you have some women who date older men so if a man is older, 100%, yeah, I expect his bank account to be much larger than mine. I expect him to be more well established than I am. So I think it just really just depends on, a person's age, because that gives them an opportunity to actually earn more and to do more and become more because of their age.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unrealistic expectations out there as far as what a man makes. And I think, also because of the times that we're in, I believe that we should have a lot more opportunity financially to kind of acquire money a little bit more easily. But so as women, I think we're not totally reliant, is my point, on the man anymore, the way that we used to be. But I do believe that we have a lot of women where we did see that. We saw where the men were the full providers, but nowadays the workforce is full of both. And so how he manages what he has, to me, can speak just as much volume as how much he has. So he might, let's just say if he's making between, I dated a guy, he made like 50,000 a year, but he did his best to really manage that well. And I liked how he focused on managing, and he always paid his bills early. You see what I mean? Little things like that, just showing integrity with what he had. And I'm just like, you know what? We could still grow with that. Because if that's the case, let's just say you have me making 50K, he's making 50K, then that's at least already six figures. You see what I mean?
Well,
So
he's
that's
really
why,
financially stable. He's not living beyond his means.
right, he's not living beyond his means, that type of thing. So I really respected how he handled his finances. He had more of an issue and wanted to make a lot more, which is great. I think that, a man should always be motivated to do more, to do better, to get more, whatever. If that's what he wants to do, to have something to have that drive, I think that's important as
Mhm.
well. But the size of a man's bank account, I think it does matter for a lot of women. We want that security.
Yeah, I was going to mention something else too. So, like, most men, if they're, because you mentioned being financially stable. So, no matter how much they're making, if they are not happy with what they have, then they're never going to make a woman happy. So, it's, as a woman, you have to pay attention to that. So, if somebody's living beyond their means, if they're living from check to check, if they're got way more bills than what they going out than what they have coming in, than the income that they have coming in, then I think that man is not going to be happy with himself. And in return, he's not going to be happy with any woman.
I definitely wholeheartedly have seen where that goes south.
Mm-hmm.
And you are so right. I have seen it time and time again where it creates all these insecurities, and not even with the woman. Could you imagine the woman making more and he's already not happy with the amount that he
Yeah.
makes? And not, you know what I mean? So, and then what if he doesn't manage that well? So then it's adding more stress onto him about paying bills, debts, things like that. So, yes, if a man is not pleased with himself, it is, in my opinion, that it will project onto the relationship or his actions with women.
Now, I was going to mention that too. So when you have a man who's dating a woman that makes more than him, then I think that the size of his bank account matters then too, because not all guys, but some guys will be intimidated by a woman who makes more money than them. They will probably say that they won't on the front end, but um, I think that it does play a huge role in the success of a relationship when you talk about finances and who the breadwinner is in the relationship as far as income. So I think sometimes it does take a toll on a man emotionally and mentally if he's dating a woman that makes more money than him, especially if it's an excessive amount more.
And yeah, and then we have the opposite end of that where the guy might love that she's making more, or you know what I mean, especially if she does everything for him. That's scary to me. Like, I'm
That's
not
another
saying that
show.
there's anything wrong. It is. Yes, and and so my thing is, it's like, if he's relying on that woman to fill his bank account, or if he's like, that's
Mm.
scary to me. It's so scary because can you really rely on a man like in multiple ways that's okay with that? Now I can understand if he's got certain circumstances, okay? Because I'll say like my dad and my stepmother, right? His bank account, you know, he's more of the stay-at-home dad, you know what I mean? And he's really good at taking care of a house. He's great at all that stuff.
Well, see, that's a
But
different dynamic, though.
ultimately,
Yeah.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's not the same. It's certain circumstances that kind of put him in that situation. So, but do you think that a woman respects or disrespects a man according to the size of his bank account?
I think it just depends on the woman and what her morals are. Because if you're talking about a stay-at-home dad, you're talking about somebody who's actually in a relationship and with a woman who's actually had children, or and even if they're not his children, but he's decided to take on these children as his responsibility. And if he sees that her earning potential is more than his and is better for the family, then 100%, I would have no problem with that. I would never, first of all, I would never look down on a man for how much he makes, especially if he's financially stable. And if he can manage the money that he has and pays his bills, totally fine with that. I'm not trying to pay none of them for him, but I'm not going to ask him to pay mine either, right? So it's all about, like I say, what a person is willing to accept.
Yeah, I've known women who are when that's the situation, right? When it's a relationship, it's a marriage, they've got kids. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, it's whoever's got what's the best situation right now. This is what we're going for, and it's like they don't even really think about it. I think it's easier for people outside looking in to make negative judgments about that because we're so accustomed to the norm of the man is the provider, the
Mm.
woman takes care of the house and the kids, and da 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 da. Sometimes you have the men that are really great at managing the kids a lot better than the mom. So he takes on that responsibility.
There's nothing wrong
It
with that.
just,
I know people.
it's
I have
nothing
friends
wrong with it.
that. Yeah, I don't have no. I mean, like I said, that's so in the dating. That's totally different from the dating phase, though. You have to actually get to that point. You don't just
Yes,
meet somebody and say, "Hey, you want to be a Mr. Mom," right? So you're talking about on
right.
two opposite ends of the spectrum. When you meet someone, before you even get to that point, to where you're in a relationship, to where you're talking about who's gonna earn more money and who's gonna take care of the kids, you're not even there. You're not even there yet when you're in the dating phase because you kind of have those. conversations on the front end where you ask someone what they do for a living, and you don't automatically come off and say how much money they make, but we kind of judge and figure out, so to speak. You size them up, right? So size really does matter because you're trying to size them up by what they do to determine how much money they make.
Girl, some of these women out here asking outright. They doing the most, girl. They just want to know how much you make, what you do,
Well, you got to talk
how
about
much that make.
that's a different caliber of woman, though. That's probably a woman that a man will never think about marrying either. So that's a
Oh,
totally different
I
type
would
of person.
hope. Yeah, yeah.
They need to marry somebody
So
two totally different things.
so off top, right? So off top. So let's just say initiating, in the initial stages of dating someone, and they're kind of getting a feel. They how do I think women look at that's when they look at what type of car the man drives. They're looking at where he lives. They're looking at what he's spending on them, that type of thing. And do you think that that can be mistaken sometimes as women being gold diggers versus a woman looking for a man that's just stable, financially stable?
So I would say that, first of all, just because somebody spends all that money on those materialistic things does not mean that they're financially stable, and does not mean that they're going to take care of you. So that's the wrong thing to focus on. First of all, I don't focus on things like that. I wouldn't advise anybody to focus on things like that. I think women who focus on things like that probably are looking for something different. You know, um, it's hard for me to speak on it because I'm not that way.
Same here. Like, is that the fun girl? Is that the chick that's just looking for survival or looking? I don't know. It depends. There's so many different types of women that just want that man that is financially stable, and they look to see these so-called key things. And
It's
yeah,
a difference
sometimes
in
that's a
wanting.
red flag for me.
Well, it's a difference in wanting somebody who's financially stable and wanting somebody who can spend their money on you. Because just because somebody is financially stable doesn't mean they have money to spend on you. Just because they have money to pay their
Right.
bills doesn't mean they have a plethora of funds to where they're going to be able to go and splurge all over a woman. Of course, I
Hmm.
like when somebody does nice things for me, but I like to reciprocate as well. I like to do nice things for
Right.
people, and I like for people to do nice things for me. So if it's a one-sided relationship to where the man is always doing something and he's never getting anything in return, I mean, how long is that relationship going to last?
Right. I think, I wonder sometimes mentally, I always wonder where is a man's mindset mentally when it comes to money? Because, like, how is he emotionally? How does he respond financially to his emotions? How does he respond, financially to, I don't know, to his traumas? You know how some men they'll hold extra tight onto their money because of the fear that they're being used. That women are just coming after him for what he might have. I've seen all kinds of things. Mentally, I think it's important to kind of delve in with the man, not like overwhelming him with questions, but sort of feeling out where is his mindset around money in general. Does he have a scarcity mindset? Because that can cause problems. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
does he, in the long run? So it's a
Yeah.
number of things I think that we can look for with a man's mentality, and in our own, we have to also question our own and how we come across.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned, you said how a man responds, or would you say emotional and financial or something like that?
Yeah,
What
is
did
he
you say?
impulsive?
No, you said something about emotional. How do you respond emotionally to finances?
Yes.
I think that I I I think that if the finances are not right, their emotional state is not going to be well. Because men are taught to be providers. So if you can't provide, then that's going to affect you mentally. Meaning that if you are not making as much money as you want to make, how happy are you going to be with the woman when you get with that woman? So I think
Yes.
that
Yes.
the finances actually plays a big toll on a man's emotional state, to where,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I've also seen men when they're very so emotionally, when they're feeling very revved up about a woman, they want to buy her everything. They go out of their way. And women might have the impression that
That's
he
love
has
bombing.
more than what he actually has. Right. Yes, no,
Love
sometimes that's
bombing.
love bombing. Right.
Mhm.
And then sometimes it's just whether they're really, and I've seen this more in younger men where it might not be love bombing, but they're trying to do so much because they're just so excited about this new woman, that they're doing all this and they're spending money that they don't really have, but it's like, oh, but I like her so much and I just really want to impress her,
It's
because
still love bombing.
he might feel it is. Because then what ends up happening is that once they get into the
There
relationship
you go.
and he's
Stop. The
not
wife
doing all those
starts.
same things,
Exactly. Love bombing.
then she gets disappointed. And then, yeah, and men, the woman, to the men out there watching, men might, think, okay, well, or rather the woman might think of the man, hey, he doesn't like me as much because he's not doing what he used to do for me. He's not giving me stuff the way he used to give me
Well,
stuff.
yeah, but like I said,
And,
that's just love bombing
you
though.
know,
So it's like that's on both sides though. But you can't start. You
it
should
is
not start something if you can't keep it up.
what you can't
And that's with
finish.
anything. So even
Hmm.
though you like somebody, if you know you can't keep up giving lavish gifts, don't start. I mean, it's okay to give somebody a nice something nice, but don't sit there and try to keep throwing things, knowing that you're getting to a point to where you're not gonna be able to pay your bills, or you're spending all this immense amount of time with this person, knowing good and well you're neglecting your friends or neglecting overtime at work, whatever the case may be. And now you're going to have to stop because the person is going to keep expecting that because that's what you started out doing. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
don't do the love bombing thing because that's exactly what it is once you start it and you can't keep it up.
Yes. Because a woman will be disappointed, or she will mistake it for you not liking her the same anymore, that your
Mhm.
interest is fading, anything like that. And then you're not going to want to be, the man ain't going to want to be honest. He won't want to be honest and say, hey, I just can't afford it. I was really pushing it to the limit when I first met you. A man doesn't want to say that, right? So, yeah.
Now it'll
Yeah.
turn
That's
into
just,
something else because then you look at the
yeah.
different traits. What comes after love bombing, right? So what's the next stage? Let's just say in like a narcissistic situation, what's the next stage after love bombing?
Well, it's that push pull. So, because you're going to pull
Exactly,
away, or,
exactly. So
it's
you
like,
have that
so,
push pull to where the person will start to say, "Well, dang, I bought you this already. So, I mean, you're not happy with the things I gave you. Instead of you just saying that you can't afford it, you're going to start doing other things to
exactly.
start trying to pull away." So, like I said, just be
Yes.
mindful of that because that's the stages that you have to go through because now you're trying to protect your ego and protect your image.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent
So
point.
I'm going to move on to this next one, and we're going to talk about the size of a man's heart. So, size of a
Uh,
man's heart, you have those nice guys out there. We've heard that phrase, nice guys always finish last. Some men have really big hearts. And,
mm,
you, women, we say we want this certain type of guy and we want all these things. And then once we get it, like, how do we treat those guys? Do we treat them worse than what we treat the guys that run us over? Because now we see that we have an opportunity to run them over.
Yeah, I do believe some of those women are like that. Some of those women out
Mhm.
there are like that. But I also believe those same types of women will underestimate the size of that man's heart according to her limited perception. And a man can never view himself through a woman's eyes. He's got to be confident in who he is as a man and the love that he knows he provides, and really preserve that for the right woman whose heart he sees, who, the woman that he sees, not through his own egotistical perceptions that we as women do as well, but really letting someone, the right person, see who he is. And
Ah,
because oftentimes women underestimate that. They
well,
underestimate the size of a man's heart.
I kind of differ. I mean, I beg to differ on that. Where you said he doesn't look at how he sees himself in her eyes. Is that what you said?
I'm just saying there are some men who can they see about a woman what they want to see, versus, what I mean, versus her authentic heart. They might have a true heart, authentic, and have a great, wonderful, kind heart, right? But I've seen those same types of men choose the wrong women because
Yeah.
of the perception that they want to have of the woman, and that can. But what's a version of what were you going to say though?
Well, what
I'm
I was just
interested
going
in
to
that.
say is that I think that sometimes a man falls in love with the image of himself that he sees through a woman's eyes.
Mm,
That's how men fall
wow.
in love because he's looking at how the woman sees
Mm,
him. And if this woman sees him as
mm,
a provider, as a protector, as as because men want to, they have to feel needed, they have to feel wanted. And if the woman makes him feels that way,
Mhm.
and when he looks into her, and when he looks into the soul of her, if that's what he sees that he is to her, yeah, it's going to make him fall in love with her.
Mm. I actually, it's so funny. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but I know that it's really interesting. They talk about, how men really fall in love with a woman when he's able to bond with her and able
Mhm.
to really connect with her and do things, and it's not about the sexual aspect of things. And so that man's heart is really important. And I think nowadays relationships, people are just jumping into the bed together so quickly that we don't establish the connection. We don't establish the personalities, the character, the integrity. We don't really get to see that. You know what I mean? And you have guys that'll be like, tell me no, tell me no, tell me no, right? Because they know it's like, I'll get into the bed with you. A man is still, if he likes you, he likes you. If he wants to get with you, he's gonna want to get with you. But I think that a man's heart, oftentimes we don't get to know it because we're jumping in so fast,
Well, but you got
you
to think.
know?
So what that reminds me of, and I know we probably said this previously at one point, but the men that we tend to learn and we like, and and we that allows them to let their guard down with us. Those are the guys that we friend zone, and
Isn't that horrible?
they end up falling in love with us. Your friends end up falling in love with you because they're vulnerable with you. They're allowed to be in that safe space because you've given them the go ahead to let their guard down, because they can share things with you that they don't feel comfortable maybe sharing with the woman who maybe, you know at a different phase in the relationship with them. So you're the one that they go to talk to and share their emotions with. And but to us, those are the ones that we friend zone. So when we have to think about that differently, the guys that we like, if you treat them like the ones you don't like, guess what? Those will be the ones that fall in love with you.
It's funny. When I was younger and, I had a friend of mine who, I really liked him, but I just wouldn't cross that line with them. But I
We
did like him
all
and I
have
wanted, I wanted, yeah, yeah. And I wanted him to like me. And I used to get so upset. I was way younger. And I used to be so upset because I'm like, you know what? You're always trying to impress these other girls. You're always trying to impress these other women. And with me, you're just like, you just let everything out, let everything go. And I used to be so mad at that. I'm like, why is it also the guys that we friend zone, they're not trying to impress us. I feel
they
like a lot of
don't
men, yeah, well, and that exactly. And I believe that like sometimes the size of a man's heart goes overlooked for a man trying so much to impress the woman that he's not opening up over time enough. He's not giving that vulnerable side. And but then again, men are taught that if you give that over, she might friend zone you. She might see you as the nice guy and she might look over
No,
you. So
no,
yeah,
no,
it's a
no.
gift.
That's not what they're taught. I'm thinking what they're taught is
That
that that's the
I
one
have
that's going to
totally
screw
heard
them
that.
over. That's the one that no, that's the one that's
Yeah,
going to screw
that they'll
them
get.
over. So that's not the one
Oh,
that's
for
going to friend
sure.
zone them. That's the one that's going to screw them over because now they've let
Yes.
their guard down with her. So that's the fear. It's not the fear of being friend zoned. It's the fear of being used and abused.
I have been told on numerous occasions by male friends that Essence, I tried and you friend zoned me.
Well,
And
you got to think, essence.
I'm
You're
not
talking
saying it's
about
the norm.
no.
It doesn't
Listen to
have to
me
be the
closely.
norm, but that's
What I'm
my
saying is
experience
that I
though.
know that your experience, what I'm talking about is a plethora of men.
Mm-hmm.
Men will say that to you because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be friend zone. They want to be in a different phase with you. But ultimately,
Right.
when men let their guard down, of course, they want to go to a different, they want to go to a different level with a woman. And of course, it's not the friend zone. But my point is that that's not the ultimate fear. The ultimate fear is that they let
Mm.
their guard down with a woman. You get into a relationship and then she uses you because now she knows your vulnerable side. So it's not
Yeah,
that,
and
I
then
mean, yeah,
uses
of
it
course,
against them.
they don't want to be friend zone. Yeah, I mean, no man wants to be friend, but they'll accept that. But no man wants to be accepted
Mm-hmm.
and walked over and being treated bad.
Yeah, exactly. They're accepting it for like later. Like, oh, I
Oh
might be able to
yeah,
get at her later.
I mean,
But no, but not
they
only that, yeah, but not only that, yeah, you're right. And then also throwing it back at them. Yeah, for sure. Like just taking their vulnerabilities and or remembering certain things that they said when they were vulnerable and using it against them in various ways to try to catch them in things later. I've seen all kinds of stuff like
Well, I
that.
mean,
No,
but
you're
that's
right. And it's
in a
crazy.
relationship period. You have people on both sides
It's
that do that to
crazy.
where they'll
It's sad.
want to throw something in somebody's face and take what
It's
someone has said to
horrible.
them and use it against them. So that's just a terrible
Hmm.
tactic. I think that's what
It
manipulators do.
is.
They wait for a moment to throw
Hmm.
something back in somebody's face. Just then that's those are those times when they don't get what they want.
Right. I've seen that
That's a
so
selfish person
often.
trait.
Yeah. And and something that, I was guilty of that before, but I remember it wasn't even me trying to be manipulative, consciously manipulative, me wanting my way apparently, right?
Hmm.
But it was me saying no, it was me not trusting, right? And it was me projecting it onto that man, knowing that man had a heart of loving me.
Mm.
But in his vulnerability, I'm like, oh, but you da 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 in a bad moment, in a scary moment, right? It's like, no, you won't speak up about it, so da 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 da, right? So I go my own way and I lash out and I pull something out that was only meant for he and I. You see what I mean? In that vulnerable
Mm.
moment for healing, not for me to take it out of my own fear, right? And I learned that a long time ago, long time ago. I was in my 20s. I learned a long time ago, do not do that. After that happened and I saw how that just crushed him, I never got him back after that.
Mm.
I crushed that man's heart with that.
Yeah.
So I never again, never again. I had to learn that the hard way. And I'm thankful that I think that he went on to open up to somebody else, thankfully. But I'm telling you, I learned it the
Yeah.
hard way. And it
I'm
is,
going to
yeah,
say
it's a big
that I
deal
think that men who have good hearts, who are good to people, there's nothing wrong with that. And
at
whether
all.
it's male or
Right.
female, don't let somebody use you. You find
Hmm.
somebody to match your energy, and you find somebody that's caring and loving that's going to give to you just as much as you give to them.
Yes.
Um,
And hold on. One last thing I want to say about that man's heart is that it actually is attractive to a healthy woman. A man that's good, kind, loving, that is very attractive to a healthy woman. And I just had to throw that out there. What you just said. Just cherry on top.
you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I had to throw that out there, girl.
Like,
Because
yeah.
shoot,
So
that's a healthy woman craves that.
the
Yes.
size of a man's intellect. So I'm going to tell you this. Just so you talking about what women find attractive. I'm going to tell you one thing I love and I find attractive is an intelligent man. That's something that really turns me on. Um,
Okay.
you
Hmm.
know, I love somebody who's smarter than me that I can go to, that I can ask questions of, because you got plenty of guys out there who think they smart and don't know nothing and will try to answer something. You be like, okay. But when you have someone who's very intelligent that doesn't throw that around, but will be willing to help you out and to help to explain things and doesn't get upset about it. I mean, those men are highly attractive to me.
Yeah, you ain't said but a word on that one. That is so true. No, really, it is so attractive when you can have a great intellectual conversation. And it's not like you have to talk about sciences and maths and all of it, but just knowing how to
Oh, I love them
flow
conversations.
in a
You know, I'm an
conversation.
electrician,
Me
girl.
too. Girl, I know you are a math addict. You are a math addict.
Love math
Girl,
and
yes, I
science.
know. No, yes. So me too, because but that's just like if I'm trying to, if I'm talking about, you know, I won't go all into depth about that. But yes,
Mm,
it is very attractive when a man does know those things. I remember I was dating this one guy. He was I don't know, he did
mm,
something with, algorithms. He created algorithms, whatever. Girl, he was so
mm.
attractive. And on top of that, he liked guns. He had multiple guns. He knew he was good at shooting. Like, girl, honey, yes, he was all the above for me. He was my American dream, like my African American dream.
Crazy.
But
I
but
like
I
that.
just enjoyed, I really enjoyed time with him. We had a good time. We didn't necessarily click all the way, and I did say something that just was like, it just let me know that we weren't gonna completely click.
Mm.
But no, 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 he was really great guy. Well, here's another thing about intellectual men that I've dated. They provide clarity, right? They're very confident oftentimes, the ones that I've dated.
Yeah.
Clarity, confident, really calm. They didn't feel like, it didn't seem like they were always trying to prove something. It just flowed
Well,
very well with
I'm
some
gonna
of
tell
them.
you this. I'm gonna tell you something that I find attractive too is like, when a man could match your witty banter, I really,
Banter,
really like
yes.
that. It's
That
like when you can go
banter,
back and forth,
girl.
like, you'll throw something out there and they'll just catch it and then like throw it right back
Yeah,
and you're sitting there going
yeah,
back and forth and then you guys have this little inside joke type thing. Yes,
yes.
very,
It's
very, very attractive.
wonderful. It is, girl, yes, I could light up with a
Mhm.
man that is just intelligent. But, at the same time, there's multiple ways of a man being intelligent, right? Not just, in his intellect, like his IQ, but also, in other ways. He might be funny, right?
Yeah,
He might have a really fun, because there's a lot of intelligence in humor. Like you
exactly.
said, the banter going back and forth is very attractive. That's
Like,
why
let
you'll
me tell you
have
what
these
you
men out here.
said.
Girl, look at Cat Williams. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, girl,
Mhm,
he's what, four
absolutely.
foot seven? I don't know how tall he is, but or shorty, I don't
Oh, that's
know.
your little man.
But the man,
Your little man.
look. But he's. I mean, these women are attracted to him because of his. He does seem to have an IQ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at Terrence Howard, has his high IQ,
Oh,
can be
girl.
very funny. He's attractive. You know what I mean? Like just so many things. But so, for any man that's out there, he might feel like he's looks challenged, right? He might feel like he's got issues with money. He might feel, but if you are funny, if you are confident, it's a whole lot you can do with there are so many ways to be intelligent towards a woman. Matter of fact,
Look, wait, stop
yeah,
real
I
quick,
could go
because
on
you
about
almost
that.
made me say something. I'm like, girl, Terrence Howard, like my baby daddy. No, I'm just playing. I'm like, oh, yes. You have me over
Girl,
here thinking like, oh, yes.
and see, here's the thing. I don't know if people know about. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to stick on Terrence Howard, but the whole thing is like he has things that I would say. I'm like, oh no, we have to talk about this. I don't agree with what you say about one plus one equal, two, or one times one equaling two. I still believe that one times one is one, and I have my reasons, right? Even though he doesn't agree with that, he's got his mathematical reasons for that. So I love having
Is it
conversations like that,
mathematical or
but
spiritual?
so for him, no, it's so he actually describes it as like corporeal, you know what I mean? Like entity. So like physical. He's like,
Okay.
where does that energy go? Right. So that's
Mhm.
why but at the same time, to bring up a great point, I don't want a man
Mhm.
that I'm always debating, but could, again, like you said, a banter,
It's
just
different.
being
I
able to
agree. Yeah.
volley. Yeah, being able to volley back and forth. And I do
Mhm.
believe that some women might cross that line for various reasons, maybe their own insecurities or anything like that, or just their way of just kind of being mean, you know what I mean? Sometimes to men,
Girl, I'm like, when it comes to
and
being
just
make me or
not
beat me, I'm talking
appreciating that.
about if you are intelligent and you're smarter than me, hey, I have no problem with admitting, oh, look, look, you're a problem solver. Okay. Can you solve a problem for me? So yeah.
Yes,
So I'm like,
yes.
almost like it becomes a job description at that point. I need you to add value and solve problems. No.
So Keisha, you bring up, solving problems. What about that? That's a good point going into emotional intelligence, right?
Mm.
Like, emotionally,
Hmm.
how important is it for a man to have that emotional intellect? Like,
Well, I'm
what
gonna
is
say
it,
this
you
too.
know?
I was sitting here thinking that another thing that I find highly attractive, even though sometimes when I get to the point where I become crazy girl and I fly off the handle, yeah, it is very attractive to have someone that tries to reel me back in and be like, look, I'm not going there with you. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, so what's going on? And it doesn't take it personal because he realizes that it's something going on with me and not necessarily a situation that I need to deal with him. It's something that I need to deal with what's going on inside of me. So yeah, absolutely. Emotional intelligence for a man who has a high EQ, very, very, very attractive.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? And it sends me in a whole other direction. A man who's very self-aware, right? I'm just like, oh Lord, hallelujah, just take me into praise, right? Because I get so encouraged by a man who's able to say, who's able to express, hey, look, it's a me thing, it's not a you thing. Let me deal with this real quick. Let me handle some things. Yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. And trust me, who comes to trust me. I believe you gotta kind of earn a man's trust sometimes, that where he comes to trust me, where he can open up and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Do you have any, do you have any feedback? Is there anything you'd like to contribute that maybe I could even think about? And I'm telling you, when that has
Mhm.
happened, I've been in a relationship before where that, and that didn't happen often. So when there are men that are like that, that sets you really, it sets you outside of the crowd. Like it really stands you out, as a man of value, because women, healthy women, really do value a man who can communicate well. And like you said, also a man who's not able, who's able to control himself and not go down into that emotional roller coaster with us, but can kind of stay grounded and say, hey, look, you know, I believe that this is, you might need some time, or would you like me to give you some time? Or
And
I'm not going to fly off the handle.
I'm going to tell you something else too. So that type of man that you just described, um,
Hmm.
I would have no problem following a man like that. We talk about,
Yeah,
a man who's wants to be the leader of the household, or um, a woman should be submissive to. If I have a man that's solving problems, you're intelligent, you got emotional intelligence, you're adding value,
yeah,
you're doing all this. I mean, if you ask me to do something, why would I not do those things? Why would I not be submissive to that man?
exactly.
Why would I not want to follow that man? Because I know he's going to lead me in the right direction, because I trust him ultimately. So yeah, intellect, 100%. I mean, top of the list is way up there.
Yeah, it is huge. And
Mhm.
I've even seen, like, I've known men where I'm like, man, like if we were under different circumstances, like closer together or something, anything like this would be a great man to date. This would be a great man to enter into a relationship with. Merely
Girl,
off of,
they got airplanes. I don't be worried about when no man live. He can get to you. I don't care how
I've
you
done
get
that
there. Get
before, and
there if
yeah,
you
yeah,
can.
I know. Just get there if you can. Yeah, I know. I tried that before. I said I ain't going back to that one. I ain't doing that no more. But there are some people where they are successful in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oop,
yeah, the
where we
size of
on?
a man's social circle. So we want to talk about a man and his friends. Do you like a guy that got a whole bunch of friends, or just only one that has a small amount of friends? How do you feel about that in dating?
I'm a little nervous about the lone wolf. I've had a lot of situations where the men are lone wolves, and what I
Mm,
have realized is that that can be a good thing or it can be a not so good thing. It could be a challenging thing, I'd say. If there's a guy and he just can't get along with anybody, it's something going on there. It like he doesn't have any friends, anybody he can rely on.
mm.
And nobody comes to his aid, nobody comes to support, nobody really shows up for him.
Okay,
He's
who he's
always
going
the
to lean on in
victim.
that moment? He's going to lean on you, because something's not right.
Yes,
Have you burned all of your bridges to where you don't have a lot of friends? I mean,
yeah,
have anybody to
like,
fall back on.
yeah,
So what happened to
yeah,
those friends? That's something that you really
right,
have to think about when you meet somebody. I know there are plenty
yeah,
of lone wolves out there, but everybody got some friends somewhere. If you don't have nobody you can turn,
yes,
coming and asking me for stuff, something's not right about that.
right. And that's the whole, that's a little scary as a woman, because then a part of you might expect me to isolate. A part of you might not like it when I start going out with my friends because I've got a small social circle, nothing big, but we're very close and intimate.
Mhm.
And I have girlfriends that I can lean on and who lean on me, right? Now, I'm not going to put those girlfriends over my relationship, right? Depending on where my relationship is going, depending on what that is. But my girlfriends and I have an understanding where we have a
Yeah.
balance, right? And so where we have a safe balance. And so I'm like, if you don't have any brothers, any men you can call a brother, that's a red flag for me. And I have seen firsthand some of the issues of that within that man and why men like that sometimes cannot connect. for various reasons, either through ego or been burned before through
Well, let
different
me ask you this
fears.
question. So, what about if a man's social circle has females in it? What about if he has female friends and
Hmm.
you're dating him? How does that affect you in a relationship? Are you okay with guys having female friends?
I've never had a problem with female friends. I always get along with them, knowing that there could have always been a past, knowing that there
Mhm.
could, you know what I mean? Anything could always, but I don't live in fear. Or how do I enjoy myself?
Yeah,
I might like her more than I like you over time. That might be more my
yeah,
I might end up being better friends with her.
yeah.
So I don't worry about that unless the females are disrespectful, which I've never had that scenario. I'm talking about like blatantly. Now they could be disrespectful behind my back and I wouldn't know it. But see, that's the thing. I don't worry about what I can't prove, what I don't know, and what I don't see or feel.
Well, this is how I feel about guys that have female friends. Just as we discussed, right? The ones that get friend zoned are the ones that we're not really that much into. Because of course, if the guy, if she was going, he'd be going too more than likely. So most of the time, when you
Right.
have those female friends, it's because there is an attraction level that's not there from one or both
Yep.
parties. So I don't have a
Yep.
problem with that. And I mean, and even if they were had a romantic past, it's gotten to a point to where it's over, because if they wanted to be together, they would be. So I don't think there would
Right.
be a need for a man to bring a third party into it with someone that he's friends with. Now, if you have somebody that's calling somebody a friend and it's really something else, that's totally different. But when you have someone who's been with that person in their life for a long time as a friend, totally, totally different situation.
Yes. And also if that woman doesn't if the female friends don't practice boundaries, they're just calling at whatever time o'clock, right? If they're, just, if they're all on them, hugging on them, kissing on them, things, oh, that's just like my brother, he,
Yeah, I wouldn't even care about that.
like,
It wouldn't even bother me, honestly,
I
because
don't
I mean
like it.
the person is with me, and if he wanted to be with her, they'd be together. So they're not. And
Right.
I had a guy who had two female friends, and it didn't bother me. Actually, he had told me he had been with both of them
Yeah.
in the past, right? Not
Hmm.
so it
Hmm.
didn't. I'm like, I thought they were real cool, and I had no problem with them, because I'm like, if y'all want to be with
Right.
them, we still be together. I didn't worry about it.
Yeah. And something, but see, my thing is, don't get the kissing on them. Don't get the hugging on them. Don't try to hold his hand. Don't act. If you acting like that, then okay, it's some unfinished stuff. You
Well,
see
but
what I'm
you think
saying?
about
I'm
it like
like,
this. I would prefer
but
to do it
but hold
around,
on.
because they're gonna do it when you're not there.
Right, but hold on. But here's my whole thing is, what does he do? What's his response? And that's really what matters to me. What is his response to any woman in his life, whether it be his mother, whether it be his sisters, whether it be his homegirls? And it's me. Like, how do you respond to situations? How do you feel you want to protect me?
Mhm.
I protect myself, but how do you, want, knowing how things can possibly look, are you aware of that? And do you protect that? Right? Just as long as you know you're not doing anything, you're not fooling off, but ultimately I believe that, especially once you get older, you can't really trip on female friends. You can't expect we're, you know what I mean, knocking on whatever these older doors and expect not to have friends of both genders. It's just unrealistic. I have really good friends that are male friends, and of course, they respect boundaries. So whenever I go into a relationship, they just peel back. They peel back, and of
Mhm.
course, the time can come where they can all meet or whatever. But as far as like being on the phone with them all night, there are just certain boundaries out of respect for the type of men that I have.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that that's and that's my thing. But ultimately, I just don't think it's realistic to flip out about having friends of the opposite gender.
No, I don't
Specifically,
either. Like you said,
men know,
I
but
think that
they
you got
have
to
their
have those
reasons.
boundaries. So, like you said, if a
Yeah.
person has a female friend, that female ultimately probably has a man, or has been in a situation with a man that has a female friend. So respect your friend's woman the way you would want your guy's friend girl to respect you.
Yeah. 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 I think that's huge. Also, in a man's circle, I think it's also important to see the types of friends that he has. What type of integrity? Do they have integrity? What type of character do the friends have? Are they pray? I'm a believer. Are these men who will pray with you? Are these men who would encourage you in a healthy relationship and kind of, not judge you, but challenge you on your choices, challenge you on various things that they see, challenge you on how you're treating a woman. That's one
But
thing
you
that
got
I
to watch
have
out for
seen.
that because that'll get into somebody trying to act like your daddy, and then I don't want
No,
that.
I don't mean to that degree. I'm talking about within a respectful degree. Like I have
You know?
seen where men they've challenged each other like, man, hey man, you being a little bit,
But you're
you
talking
need to
about men
lower your
challenging
tone with
men
this
or a man
woman.
challenging his woman.
No, I'm talking about men challenging men, like what types of friends they have. You see
Okay,
what I mean?
I'm sorry,
Like,
I misunderstood that.
like,
Okay.
so just men challenging, just supporting healthy male roles
Mm-hmm.
within each other, within the circle. You know what I mean?
See that?
Not always trying to just sit around drinking, or ain't nothing wrong with drinking, but you get what I'm saying? Like, is that all y'all are doing? Y'all just sitting around getting
But
drunk?
then in
Or y'all just sitting
return,
around getting high?
do we do that
Hmm.
as women too, right? So I mean, you have to think about
Exactly.
how
Right. It goes both
are we that
ways.
way with our friends? Because women we're
Yes.
totally different with
Right.
our friends than the way we are around
Exactly.
a man. We don't act the same way around our men the way we do around our girlfriends. And I'm sure guys don't either. They're one way around their girlfriend, and then they're one way around their guy friends.
Right, right. So I think it's just really good to have a healthy circle of male support, right?
Hmm.
I think that's just important. You know what I mean? There are some things that maybe your woman might not understand, right? That your brother, in Christ, or your brother wherever in arms or whatever might understand a little bit, you know, uh, just whatever that may be. But just
Hmm.
having a support system, knowing that there are men who would say, I would go to bat for him. That shows me that you have a level of character within you that is trustworthy of the people around you. They look at you as a leader. They look at you as a man that is trustworthy. They look at you as a man worth fighting for.
And let's say this too, though.
I've
So
seen that and I love it.
you actually want to know um, that guy's friends, because if a guy's not taking you around his friends or telling he doesn't have any friends, what is that really saying about um,
What
what
he
he
thinks
thinks
of you,
about?
right? Like,
Yeah, what he feels about
right.
you.
Hmm.
So just think about that. All right, we are going to move
Hmm.
to our last topic here. Let me see if I can get to it. The size of a man's influence. You got some
Ooh,
people out here on
honey.
social media who are out there and have a
Mhm.
lot of friends, and you know I'm a little bit older, so what do you feel about the social media and their influence out there?
You know what? I believe that there are a lot of men influencing the narratives that are running around out there right now. I
Mhm.
believe personally for a relationship, it's like Proverbs 31, right? The Proverbs 31 woman. It talks about how this woman chooses a man who literally is like he's respected and among the elders. Like, in other words, he's a man that gets wisdom, right? He's not just flying off the handle. He's not letting just anything. He doesn't have loose lips. He's not just, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a man who has purpose. To me, men have influence, right? No matter what, whether good or bad, right? Somebody could always, you know,
Mhm.
find, a man, I don't know, influential in some kind of way. But my whole thing is, it's the integrity of a man. The size of a man's influence to me goes not just in his household, but it's, when you're on the job, what kind of light do you shine? When you're amongst your friends, what kind of light do you shine? What kind of convictions do you hold? What type of values do you express? Do you live out? What are your behaviors? These things affect the people around you. The frequency, the energy that you give off really truly does physically affect those that you encounter. Are you giving off more lust when you walk into a room? Are you giving off, more professionalism? Are you giving off more warmth and nurturing as a man? Like, people can go to you and just,
Yeah,
what is it? People just can go to you. They know they're gonna have a good time, that you always gonna cheer somebody up. What is your influence when you walk into a space?
exactly. So when you think about in when you have a man who's very influential, that person almost um, shifts how you feel about how he looks, because it's no more about the physical
Woo.
attraction. It's more so about a man's influence, because you stop looking at, you may have, like you said, the way he walks into a room, he may just be okay. He may be like a number 5 on the scale, right? But when that brother start talking, and in the way he can command somebody's attention and command respect, and you look at this, just his leadership qualities and his integrity, and looking at how
Yes,
he is a very empathetic person. I mean, all that takes him from
yes,
a 5 to a 10 real quick, because it's so much. He's a total
yes,
package at that point.
yeah, yes. When I tell you, Keisha, I'm telling you, girl, that was one of the nails on the head right there. Because oh, I've seen men like that were good men, but they didn't have confidence in themselves. And I'm like, dude, with all of your amazing qualities, if you walk into a space just knowing, believing, because it might not be the car that you
Well,
have, it
you
might not
gotta.
like
Well, that
just
that's a part of that
have that.
confidence. So you gotta have that confidence.
Yes,
If
you
if
have to
they're
have
not
the
confident, they're
confidence.
not gonna have that much influence on anyone, because you're not gonna speak with conviction.
Exactly.
You're not gonna speak with authority. You're not going to
Yeah.
command the space the way someone who is
Yeah.
influential will.
Exactly. And that is what, as women, turns us like on
Absolutely.
to you, like turns on the attention where we're like, oh, what's he saying? It
Mm.
makes you want to listen. It makes us want to listen. It makes us want to say, okay, what's his next move? Okay, what are his plans? Okay, what type of man is he? Okay, what does he do? And the thing is, it's like, oh gosh, I have seen men that
My
even
Eddie
didn't even
Murphy in the
make a lot
corner
of
when the grandma was talking. Oh, it made me moist.
maybe more, maybe more. But it's real. But see, it's real, Keisha. Like I'm telling you, that influence, when you know what you bring. See people y'all are being short. Men out here are being shortchanged right now, because they're limited to the what you bring into the table conversation. It's like, no,
Correct.
what are you bringing to an entire space amongst
See,
everybody?
that's
What
why
do
I
you
wanted to say
bring
that
for
with the last.
yourself?
That's why I wanted to say that with the
Yes.
last, because when you think about a man's wallet, you think about his bank account as opposed to his influence.
Mhm.
Oh, guess what? Even
Oh,
if that bank account is low, that influence gonna make that bank account build. So who would you rather be
exactly.
with? I'm sorry, I would rather be with the man who's influential, someone who actually
But the
commands the
yes,
space, who has integrity, who is a leader. All that
yeah,
equates to attractiveness 100%. And that'll build that bank
it does.
real quick.
Yes, because that's the thing that gets into a woman's mind. That I mean, we need to probably take it back to the Mac episode.
I was just
At this
about to
point,
say.
yes, I'm telling like we are very, very much so influenced by the energy that a man brings us, because
Mhm.
we go mental about it. And I don't
Yeah.
mean crazy. I'm saying we take that in mentally, like, huh, now you're getting in our heads. It's not just about, oh, you're not talking to the survival mode of what we want financially, what we need.
Correct.
Now you're talking about emotionally, like, mentally, I can trust this man knows strategy. This is a whole other level of survival. This is a whole other level of growth. And if we could trust that with a man, ooh, honey,
All
yeah,
right.
you get our
All
respect.
right.
You will have our respect.
I'm gonna give you
Hmm.
60 seconds. You go ahead and wrap it up. You let me know your thoughts on the size really matter. Go.
I'm gonna go ahead and say real quick what a man is thinking as far as physical size, because I know that this matters to men probably more than us. That's what I'm gonna say. Size downstairs, the equipment might matter more to the man than it does to the woman. However, as a woman, we do need that to work right, but we need y'all's mind and emotion to be attached to the equipment downstairs and attached to us emotionally in order for that to really work, no matter the size. I have to say that. I want to throw that out there. I know they're wondering. Say that for last.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say that I think that it just depends on the person, and what
Yes.
that person
It
is really
depends on the
looking
woman.
for. So if you're looking for something that is physical, then yes, it does matter. But if you're looking for a life partner, I think
Yeah.
that is secondary. to everything else that we had on the list. When you're talking about a man's heart, a man's intellect, a man's social circle, and you
Yes.
talk about a man's influence on the world, I truly believe that all that is far greater than any package or equipment that a man can have. Because when you fall in
Yep.
love with someone, guess what? When you fall in love, when you are with someone intimately, your feelings are going to grow for that person because you're in love with them. So it's like
Yeah.
a 80-20 at that point. It's 80% equipment. I'm sorry, 20% equipment
I'm like, no, it ain't.
and 80% of everything else that we have on the list. So yes, 100%. I think that depending on what size you're talking about, size does matter. The size of a man's intellect, the size of a man's social circle, the size of a
Yes.
man's influence, and definitely the size of a man's heart.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That was good. Yeah. Because I think there's too much focus on the exterior stuff and not enough
That's
on the
right.
interior.
All right. Well, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. And that is it. We're going to wrap this up and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.